Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? It is September 19th, Monday night. Uh, sure, a lot of you are hyped about football season, probably watching a little Monday Night Football right now. I'm flipping back and forth between the Bills and the Titans, and it looks like the Bills are going to run away with this. It's 24-7, third quarter, under 10 minutes to go. I mean, Josh Allen is one of my quarterbacks that I do like. My top guy is Patrick Mahomes. Broke my heart when the two of them had to play each other last year. And Patrick Mahomes come out on top after a huge shock because I remember that game. I remember that game. I think the scores was in the 50s, was it not? 54 and change, if I remember correctly, and how you pretty much thought that Josh Allen and the Bills had it, but Patrick Mahomes came back and just shocked them. And I was happy because I like both guys, but I felt bad for Josh Allen. That look of shock that was on their faces was something. But that's the great thing about the playoffs, right? There's like a different energy in the air, whether it's football, whether it's baseball. I don't watch basketball, but I'm sure it's the same. But I'm pretty much just football and baseball and playoff games. The playoff atmosphere is it's just awesome. It's just a different roar of the crowd, different energy. It's just great. But anyway, the reason for this episode of this podcast is to talk about the new announcement that we just heard about War Games. I am going to do a follow up to that CM Punk that I did because I have a huge rant to go on about CM Punk. And also, I don't know if you heard Matt Hardy's podcast, but there's talk about, if you listen to him, it sounds like Jeff is not that far away of making a comeback. And I have a rant about that as well. But I will save that for the next one. I have another WWE rant, which is about Roman Reigns and Logan Paul facing off at Crown Jewel. But first, I want to get to the War Games at Survivor Series that was announced earlier today. And to me, it's a great concept, and it's great because Survivor Series has pretty much become an afterthought. Yes, it's part of the Big Four, but if you rank the Big Four, Survivor Series comes in last. And it's clear that they're now moving away from, they were doing the traditional 5-on-5s. They were moving away from that, but maybe give you one with the men, one with the women. That was it, and then give the other, the other matches. And then for like the last several years, you were getting a Raw versus SmackDown. Then you were now getting for the last few years, or the more recent years, I should say, you were getting, the WWE Champion versus Universal Champion. You were getting the Intercontinental Champion versus United States Champion. And then I believe the last 2 years, if I'm correct, maybe 2 or 3 years, you start to get the WWE champion versus the NXT champion versus the Universal champion. Then you were getting the Intercontinental champion versus the United States champion versus the North American champion. And and yes, that was pretty cool. I did like that, but this is a completely different spin now. And I had thrown out an idea of how to make Survivor Series more meaningful and put a premium on the traditional 5-on-5 matches. And my idea was, if you haven't heard, was you have a team of 5, and the winning team gets the last 5 spots in the Royal Rumble. Now, let's say it's a team. Let's say the winning team is Team McIntyre. And let's say he has, Riddle and Randy Orton on the team. But Riddle and, Orton and McIntyre are the last 2 survivors of their team. So now the 3 who were previously eliminated. So if you were the first eliminated on the winning team, you come in at number 25. Then the next person would be 26, 27, and so on. Now you have Drew and Randy, who are the surviving team members. Who gets 29? Who gets 30? Well, you might say, well, it really doesn't matter. But they always made 30 that coveted spot. So Randy Orton and McIntyre would have to wrestle to get the 30th spot. And let's say you had one where it was a clean sweep, Well, then you could do a battle royal. And again, if you do the battle royal, you're the first one tossed out. Okay, you're spot number 25. Then so on and so on and so on. Just to put a premium on the Survivor Series to make it somewhat important, and also have some effect on the outcome of the Royal Rumble. But they're going with the War Games, something that's completely different, at least different for that event. I mean, obviously we've seen the War Games in NXT. One of the better ones obviously had Undisputed Era in it, and clearly there's going to be two. One of them has to. I mean, I can pretty much guarantee that one of them is going to have the bloodline. And who's going to be on the opposite side of the bloodline? I don't know. I mean, the bloodline is clearly big enough. I mean, you have Roman, the Usos. I can't pronounce the brother's name. You have him, and you have the honorary Us of Sami Zayn. So you have five guys there. So in a way, you can still sort of have your 5-on-5. Or, you know what? Roman doesn't have to be in it, and you just have the four of them taking care of business. But I would think Roman would be in it. Now, who the opponents would be, I have no idea. I would take a guess it would be, those who have been, wronged by the bloodline. So I can certainly see it being, the Street Profits. Recently, Kevin Owens has been chirping, so you could possibly say Kevin Owens. You could possibly Drew McIntyre in there. Depends on what happens with Karrion Kross. But, I could see a toss-up team off the top of my head. I could see it being the Street Profits. That's two guys. Kevin Owens. Drew McIntyre. Again, depending on what happens with the Karrion Kross storyline. And you know what? They give him something to do since he just got back, and there's history there. You could throw Braun Strowman in. So you could have those five guys go against the Bloodline in the War Games. Now, your second War Games, I could see them doing a women's War Game. Maybe Bianca Belair leading the charge against, Damage Control and two other women down from NXT. That could also be a way of bringing back Sasha and Naomi. If you're going to bring them back as heels, they could be the surprise team. If you're going to do that, one women's War Games, one men's War Games. But I think it's a great idea. And again, Survivor Series needs something to be spiced up. The Raw versus SmackDown thing, it was getting played out. And, even Vince was, when he was in charge, I can't remember what year it was. Maybe it was 2016, maybe 2017. They kind of wanted to get away from that, which is one of the reasons why the video games changed. I mean, I know they changed makers as well, but that's why it became, 2K17, 2K18, 2K19, because they were trying to get away from the whole Raw versus SmackDown thing because, again, it was played out. And you needed something to spice it up. And then that's when they went to, okay. And in a way, they still kind of had it because it was, the Raw Women's Champion versus the SmackDown Women's Champion. So in a way, it was still Raw versus SmackDown, but they were just trying to do it in a different way. It wasn't the 5-on-5 team, Then it was just, I guess, more trying to say who was the better. I guess it was all the same thing. But and obviously if Vince was still there, Triple H wasn't running things, you wouldn't have a War Games. What would they do? I don't know. But I can guarantee you there would not have been a War Games for anything because all those, WCW concepts were always done down in NXT. It was never done on the main roster. So the odds of it happening under Vince, it was really slim to none. But they had to do something to spice it up. And, it's going to be interesting what they're going to do with the event, period. Because, again, it's become a meaningless event. I mean, the only really significance of Survivor Series, if you really want to go in history, it's just when The Undertaker, debuted pretty much. Like the event, to me, always had that connection to him. And, they made a big deal of 2016, 2017, when he teamed with Kane to take on the Wyatt family, you know. But uh, I think the War Games is a good idea, and I think you definitely have to have one featuring all of the bloodline. I think Roman has to be there. And not to mention, if you want to give the baby faces a win, you can clearly do that without pitting Roman. And obviously Roman not losing the titles because the titles won't be on the line. But, you can have Sammy take the pinfall, thus, enhancing, Jey Uso's hatred for him and say, see, listen, he lost it for us. This is why this guy has to go. So you could also build more on that story of the hate, of the hatred that Jey Uso has of Sami Zayn just being around, where Jimmy and the other brother are accepting of him. So that's intriguing. It's something to get the other guys in the car. Like I said, you can put the Street Profits together. You could put Kevin Owens in there. You could put Drew McIntyre in there. You could put Braun Strowman in there. Now, if you don't put Drew McIntyre in there and he's still feuding with Roman, I'm sorry, if he's still feuding with Karrion Kross, you could put Riddle in there. But it depends on what happens with his storyline with Seth Rollins. But you could also insert Riddle in there as well, because Riddle has had his history with the Usos and with Roman. So it would make sense if you tossed him in there. So all those choices make sense. Street Profits, Kevin Owens, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, it all makes sense. It's all a connection. But I guarantee you that one of those War Game matches is going to have the Bloodline in it. If they don't have the other one be a women's match, I have no idea who they would put in there. I guess it could somewhat surround the Judgment Day, but how exciting is that going to be? I just feel like they really. Sorry, watching the clip of the game. I just feel like they dragged out this Judgment Day thing. I think the Dominic heel turn should have came sooner, and maybe by this point we should be maybe in the middle of Dominic's heel turn rather at the beginning. And I kind of feel like the storyline is going in circles or just stale, So, not sure what's going to happen with that one. But hats off to the idea of bringing the War Games to Survivor Series. We're supposed to get more details as the event gets closer. The event this year is actually after Thanksgiving, which is pretty cool, I think. It's a 4-day weekend. I think it's that Saturday. I'm going to look it up right now because they don't really do the pay-per-views on Sundays anymore, or I should say premium live events anymore on it. Survivor Series 2022 is going to be on November 26th. So that's Saturday. Which is perfect. I mean, kids are home. It's cold as hell. So, everybody's going to be inside. So that works perfectly. So you have Thanksgiving, you have football, and then you have the Survivor Series. So I think all in all, that works out. Good timing. It'll be a great match. I'll definitely be on the couch with my feet up with something cold in my hand watching Survivor Series. So before I cut this, it's going to be a short. So before I cut this, I'm going to now go into my rant about this Roman versus Logan Paul match. So I really wasn't paying too much attention to it. And then I saw the headline and that it's going to be a crown jewel and all this stuff. Now, whatever your feelings are about them going to Saudi Arabia, a lot of people say it's them getting blood money. You've had wrestlers in the past refuse to go. Daniel Bryan refused to go at one point. Well, not at one point, he just refused to go. Sami Zayn has refused to go. I think at one point, Roman protested one year, but then he ended up going another year. If I have that correct. But however you feel about it, they're going to do it. And the whole argument of, well, it's business, but then you have, there's more things important than money, the human rights and all that kind of stuff. Listen, we all can sit here and say we wouldn't go, we wouldn't do it, all that stuff, but until you're in that position, you can't say that, okay? You can't. If you're running a business and you want to maximize your profits and all that stuff, you're gonna do it. And if you're somebody who is more along the lines, well, I'm not really in it for the money, I'm just trying to do some good, then I guess you're not going to. But again, until you are in that position, it's hard to say. And even myself, who I am a big capitalist person, I'm all for, damn, another touchdown with Diggs, damn. I'm telling you, the Bills, man, they're amazing, but they just can't seem to get over that hump when they're facing Mahomes, because last year was the second year in a row that Mahomes knocked them out of the championship game before going to the Super Bowl. But anyway, like I said, I'm the biggest capitalist person out there. I'm all for business and all that stuff, and making as much money as you possibly can for your company. Obviously, do good with the money. Reinvest it in the community. I do believe companies have a social responsibility to give back to the community and give back to the people who help keep their company going. But I don't know what I would do if I was presented with, what is it, $10 billion deal, whatever the hell that is, whatever, or 10-year deal, billions of dollars, I don't know, whatever it is. I don't know. I really don't. It's not in front of me. But regardless of how you feel, it happens anyway, and people watch, okay? And, from what I read, I mean, and yeah, and these events, these crown jewel events, and there was a different name, I can't remember what it was. They mean nothing. As far as like the main storyline, like Roman is not going to lose the championship in Saudi Arabia. Bobby Lashley is not going to lose the United States Championship. Bianca Belair is not going to. There's not going to be a title change in Saudi Arabia. It's. And when I say a BS event, I mean it in a sense of that nothing of significance is going to happen. If you read the article that I read, these events is pretty much an ego stroke for the Prince over there. And apparently the Prince wanted to see Logan Paul, so they're doing this match. And my issue with it is, again, as I said, it's a meaningless event. But for somebody who has only had 2 matches, the match at WrestleMania with The Miz against the Mysterios, and then the match at SummerSlam against The Miz, why does he get that spot? I know I just said that it's because it's what the Prince wanted. But to me, that is just a slap in the face to guys like Kevin Owens, to Sami Zayn, to Ricochet, to Matt. These guys who are busting their hump to entertain us. And yes, I know it's all staged and choreographed. I get that. But it still means something when they put the belt on the guy because, you're the face of the company. They're elevating you to represent them. That does mean something. And to just, the same thing with Ronda. Ronda comes in and all of a sudden, she gets everything. And I said it before in a past podcast, I get that. When Sasha was throwing her temper tantrum, what's a bigger match? Sasha versus Becky or, Ronda. And I get that. And to some degrees, I understand why Sasha was annoyed. I mean, I think she's a crybaby anyway. But I get that aspect that we're here all year round. And now here you come, and now, it's like, screw the rest of us, you're the top dog. And it's like, at least like make these guys work. You know what I mean? I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's right that a guy who's a celebrity, and not to mention, I know these guys train. And Logan caught up pretty quick. Logan did great in his matches. But also, isn't that like a bit of like like a slap in the face. Like, here's a guy who only trained for like a couple of months. It took me years to get to this level, do all this stuff. Here's a guy who just came in off his podcast because he just felt like doing something different, and now he's in here, and now look where he's at. You know what I mean? It's just, to me, like when you just break it down that way, there's just something insulting about it. And yeah, Logan's not going to win. We all know that. But it's just, I don't know. That payday should go to somebody more deserving. I'm sorry. And, I guess the Prince had his fill of The Undertaker. I guess he got his fill of Goldberg. Because, for at least for now, neither one of those guys are going to be making an appearance there. And I guess the Prince didn't want to see Drew McIntyre versus Roman. I guess he didn't want to see Kevin Owens versus Roman. I guess he didn't want to see Bobby Lashley versus Roman. Or AJ Styles versus Roman. But it's just... By the way, have we seen AJ lately? Is AJ feuding with anybody right now? I don't think so. But, I don't know. It just struck a chord with me. Like, it just irked me. I mean, listen, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. but just in that moment when I just read the article, I'm like, why? Why does this guy get to do that? And the same thing with Ronda Rousey. She comes in number 30, she wins the Royal Rumble, going to WrestleMania. I'm like, anyway, that's my rant. Tell me if you agree or not. Tell me if it's just whatever, because like I said, it's a meaningless event. It doesn't mean anything. And like I said, I get that. But you know what? If I'm a person who has been, looking for my moment, I'll take the meaningless event to at least get a taste of it. Mustafa Ali, give him a shot. I haven't seen him. Only saw him once. So, it is what it is, but that was just something that just bothered me. But overall, like I said, the big meaning of this was to talk about the War Games, and I think it's great that they're doing what they're doing right now. And, obviously that's going to take the majority of the event. So you'll probably get maybe another tag team match, maybe get one singles match, maybe a women's title match, and then the rest is going to be about the War Games. But I would think that the second War Games would be a women's match. I would guess. I would really be surprised if it did, because you're kind of leading to it a little bit now. You have Damage Control. Okay, they need 2 more people. And you have, Bianca, Alexis, and Asuka, and they're short, 2 people. So either that's how you bring back Naomi and Sasha. So if they're going to be the babyface, they join Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Alexa Bliss. Or you can bring them back as heels, they join Damage Control, and now you need to find 2 people to help them. But I would think it's better to bring them back as a babyface and have Damage Control find 2 other people. And I think it would be a little interesting if you had Damage Control, Bianca, Damage Control, Shayna Baszler, and Ronda Rousey. That would be a little interesting to have them. And then it's like, okay, because now you have to match something big with that, right? Holy shit. Damage Control got Bianca, keep saying Bianca, got Ronda and Shayna Baszler. And as you can see, under Triple H, Shayna Baszler is interception. Is he going to run it back for a touchdown? Yes, he is. Oh my God. A freaking interception. He just ran it back for a touchdown. It's 40-7. I think it's safe to say this game is over. I can flip over and watch the Eagles and the Vikings, which is about to go into halftime, which is 21-7. I mean, the Texans are just getting steamrolled. My God. Anyway, because they're already making Shayna Baszler back to that killer, whereas Vince turned her into a joke. And you already saw the tease of Ronda Rousey trying to get that killer instinct out of Shayna Baszler. So I really think that would really be something. Damage control, and you have the two MMA fighters against Bianca Belair, Asuka, Alexa Bliss, and then it's like, holy shit, look who they have. Hey, we got Naomi and Sasha, and I think because you kind of have to match it. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go on record with that. I'm gonna say one more game is gonna be a women's match, and I'm gonna go on record and say it will be Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and the returning Naomi and Sasha Banks versus Damage Control, Shayna Baszler, and Ronda Rousey. That's what I'm going to go with. And I think the second War Games is going to be the entire bloodline. I'm confident for sure. Two members of that team is going to be Street Profits. I'm going to throw Kevin Owens in there. Street Profits, Kevin Owens. I'm going to put in Braun Strowman. So the last spot is either going to be Drew McIntyre or Riddle. And I don't know yet. I need more time. I need more time to see how the storyline is going to play out. But that's what I'm going to go on record with on this one. So we'll see if I'm close. I say I'm completely wrong, although I think I'm pretty good on the bloodline aspect of it. But let's see what happens. But tell me your thoughts, what you think is going to happen. I'm going to drop another AEW video because Tony Khan, I don't know what the hell he's running. For all the bragging that he does, you're looking like a fool. Okay, the MJF stuff in the beginning, he was making him look like a fool. I mean, now, it has to be approved now. I don't think MJF is gonna, push the envelope first time, take his little hiatus, and now come back and do the same shit all over again. Now I think this is planned with the way he's chirping now. But with the CM Punk stuff, you haven't heard anything about CM Punk being suspended or fired or anything. And CM Punk is hurt right now. And my gut is that Khan is using this as his suspension, just not announcing it. And I am ready to. My next thing, I'm going to rip into Tony Khan and go into my rant because that is complete BS if that's what he's doing. But I will save my rant for tomorrow. Give me your thoughts on the War Games. What do you think the matches are going to be? Do you think it'll be two men matches? Do you think it'll be one man and one woman? And do you agree with my teams of who's going to be in the matches? Like I said, I think we can all agree the bloodline is going to be in one of them. And I mean the entire bloodline. I'm throwing Roman into this as well. Like I said, you can put Roman in it. He does have to take the pinfall. And I think the other good thing is, because I don't believe War Games is an elimination style match. And the other good thing is that you can have the bloodline lose, but not hurt them, because you have Sammy in there. So, but I don't believe War Games is not an elimination style match. Let's see, War Games. War Games. First event to go over. Last match in the air. The match. 5 matches contested. Opening. Yes. Yeah. It's not a elimination style match. So that works out. That definitely works out. So, give me your thoughts. and listen up for the next video.